everybody, how's it going? It's Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff, and I am coming to you on this Wednesday, January 16th, 2019, with my next update video. The light is crazy today. So over the weekend we got a pretty good snowstorm as a result of, I believe it was Snowstorm Gia, I think. And we got probably 6 to 8 inches, give or take, over the span of about 2 days, maybe a day and a half. And it's a really bright and sunny day. It's not very warm, so it's not exactly melting, but it is bright, and so the sunlight is actually reflecting off of the snow that's on my neighbor's roof. And I don't have any blinds or curtains at this window, so yeah. But I do have my sort of fancy studio lighting, so that will sort of help filter some of it. Trust me, I'm much less washed out than I was. I am this pale, and that's okay. So yeah, so that's what's going on there. Well, let me just let you know what's coming. I've got some projects that I've worked on, related stories. I have some stash acquisitions and a beautiful gift that I received, and then I'm going to talk books. I haven't knit since we last spoke, and I went through comments on the last 3 videos today, and I didn't find any questions that needed public answering. So just some general things. The only thing that I did want to do before I start showing projects is just like a section on thank yous. Thank you for everybody who sort of loved on Stargazer a little bit more last time. That was pretty great. Thank y'all for understanding my emotional attachment to the piece. Thank you for everybody who sent suggestions about the ribbons, about I received several comments from people saying that maybe I should go back to my full 6 shaded conversion for the ribbons, which would give me that more depth of color that I'm looking for. And so that's kind of something I'm considering. I still think it's too light, and I also don't really want to rip anything out, so we'll see. If it reaches a point, like I said, where I hate it and I have to rip it out, then I will probably do that. I'll probably go with the full 6 shaded conversion and be done with it. Let's see, what else? Also, I wanted to say thank you for everybody who left suggestions about my project bag. Dilemma / query kind of a thing. A lot of people recommended Evertote, which is from our very own Caroline. I have an Evertote and I love the quality of her bags, so that is on my to consider list. And then of course, Jan's Stitching Necessities, and there was another one whose name I cannot remember, but nonetheless, I'll figure something out if and when a WIPGO bingo happens. So I think that is it for the thank yous. So let's just go ahead and start looking at some projects. So when last we spoke, the video was on Wednesday. I filmed it on Wednesday, but I didn't upload it until Thursday because I had upload problems on Wednesday evening. So I was working on Stargazer, and I was working on it on Wednesday as well as Thursday. I ended up not stitching anymore that night. There was a rather important basketball game that we won, Virginia Tech, and so there wasn't any more stitching on Wednesday, plus I spent all that time trying to get the video uploaded. I got mad frustrated. Anyway, then Thursday rolled around, and I worked on this a little bit more on Thursday. So, real quick, Stargazer, what she will look like finished, kind of, sort of, almost. Phoenix Minder, upside down, because Phoenix coming from the ashes sort of rising up. As you guys know, I'm doing a Virginia Tech inspired conversion for this. And like I said, I worked a little bit more on Thursday morning, and I filled in more of the orange in my February goal, so to speak. So you can see, I mean, that line's pretty solid. You can see how much more I have left to do in my February goal. So I will be able to stay ahead at least for a couple months. We'll see how it goes. But I'm digging it. I'm absolutely loving the conversion and the way it's coming together. Once again, we are much pinker than in real life. Let's see if I can do what I did last time to try to get the colors to show more accurately. That's still too pink. I don't know what's going on there, but that's the light, whatever. The oranges I'm super, super in love with. I contemplated momentarily, so the bottom of her skirts I'm doing in sort of limestone colors. More of like a gray beige limestone rather than like a grainy brown. Anyway, I contemplated switching those two color palettes, so doing the stone colors here and the orange down at the bottom, because I was worried sort of about this join here. But then I'm like, you know what? Orange and maroon, those are our colors together. So it totally makes sense for them to be together. And I love it. I really do. I love it. So having a lot of fun with this. Looking forward to getting back to it. One thing that I did want to talk about with this, I've had a bunch of new followers, and so hey, if you are new to watching me, ask this question. And the answer to the question is yes, I did go to Virginia Tech. I was graduating class of 2010, and so I just kind of want to take a second here to let you guys know that yes, I was there when the shooting happened, and yes, I lost somebody. I hesitate to talk about this because I don't mean to sound rude or anything like that. It's just that if you ask somebody if they went to Virginia Tech and they say yes, please do it for me. Don't let your next question be, were you there? Did you know somebody? That is like the hardest question to answer as somebody who was there and who experienced everything that happened that day and the months and years following. That's it's just like my Virginia Tech experience is not defined by that one day, by that one person. And so I just really would appreciate that if you guys happen to encounter somebody who went to Tech, please don't let that be your first question afterwards, because that's hard. PSA over with. I will get back to Stargazer. Oh, you can see a little bit of the back there. In early February. So as I talked about, after Stargazer, I had intended on pulling out my Not Quite White work by Northern Expressions needlework to finish up my homework for Magical Stitches. And so I did that on Thursday afternoon. I didn't get a whole lot of stitching done on Thursday afternoon because I was kind of dealing with a headache, turns out turned into a migraine. So I didn't get a whole lot of stitching done on Friday. On Friday, I was able to stitch for about 40 minutes, and then Danny and I had date night. We actually went to go see Fantastic Beasts, Crimes of Grindelwald, finally. We found a theater about an hour and a half away from us that still had it, and so we went to a late night showing because that's all they had for it. And it just kind of had date night Friday night, so I didn't stitch on it a whole lot on Friday. So then it bled into Saturday a little bit. So I worked on this Thursday, tiny bit, Friday, even tinier bit, and then a good portion on Saturday. So at some point you will have seen a preview of what this will look like finished, but let me show you what I got done. So I was working on these two blocks here, and I have finished those two blocks except for the double herringbone that borders on this side here. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with the progress. 2 specialty stitch blocks, and they were pretty fun. This one was a test of tedium. So this one is done in 4-sided stitch, but it's done with 1 strand, 2 legs. So essentially, it took twice as long to do that as it could have if I had done like 2 strands. So that was kind of silly. It was also supposed to be much more pulled than it is. I don't pull mine nearly as hard as Nicole did in the model or even suggests. So mine is not quite as pulled. The same is true for this block down here. I'm going to put in some close-ups of that block just so that you guys can see the specialty stitches going on. The back stitch is supposed to be a pulled back stitch. And again, I didn't pull near as tight as Nicole may have wanted or as the chart really said to. I really just did a general back stitch. And then inside the diamond are eyelets, teeny tiny little eyelets. And then the larger stitch is a Smyrna cross in the center of 4 raised stitches. So super easy, but looks so complicated. So much more complicated than it is. It was really, really simple to do. And I really like the effect of it. So my first section of blocks is finally done. I made the joke that I started this in 2015, so 4 years later, I finally have part 2 done. Yay. That's pretty sad. It's, yeah, that's not exactly how I wanted this to go, but that's the way it crumbles. This fabric, by the way, gosh, I've been terrible at that. I'll insert for Stargazer. This is 36 count Edinburgh linen in cream ivory, and I am stitching this using all of the called for Dinky Dye silks for the autumn version that Nicole put together. I was only supposed to work on that on Thursday night to try to get my 309 stitches done for homework. But it continued for an extra couple of days, and so Saturday night it was time to pull out my fantasy cell. So I get it set up on the frame, and I go to put it on my stand, and my side clamp broke. I brought it to show you guys, but like you're not going to be able to see what I'm talking about. The part that you spin to clamp to your frame has been cross-threaded for as long as I can remember. I think I got it at Christmas 2014, and so I think that it just came to me that way. It was cross-threaded, and I've been managing and dealing with it as best I can. Danny put some anti-seize something on it to prevent it from totally like jerking to a halt. But it's sitting right over there, so that's why I keep looking at it. But on Saturday night, I heard sort of like a snap sound, and then a piece of the threads came out of it. So essentially what that means is that it will not tighten anymore. It just won't. And this was kind of devastating. I was ready to sit down and stitch on Saturday night, and yeah, just I can't, because I am not adept with Q-snaps in hand anymore, and stitching at my big PVC stand would have been great, except that I didn't have a space for it because we had Gloomhaven here on the dining room table. There was no way I was going to be able to work on anything on my Millennium frames. I could have done it in hand, but to be totally honest, no. Just no. It's just too heavy for that. So I got to searching on the Google and everywhere else to try to find a replacement, just the side clamp, thinking that I could find that for not too much. It's like 47 pounds before shipping from so-and-so UK if they had any in stock, which they don't. And I couldn't find any on eBay or Etsy or anywhere else. So I ordered a new stand, a whole brand new Lowry from Amazon. Chalk it up to another Christmas present. Because I needed something, and Amazon was able to get it to me within 72 hours. I had it Monday, which is kind of magical considering the snow that we got, and the fact that I ordered it late Saturday night. Like, the long story short is that I couldn't not stitch until it got here. Like, I had my Sunday ahead of me. Monday was a snow day. Like, there needed to be some stitching. So the only thing that I had that I could pull out was my Mill Hill kit, because I can stitch that in hand, no problem. I don't mean to sound like such a snob, like, oh, I can't stitch in this. It's just that I'm, like, not capable anymore. I've become accustomed to my style. So anyway, this is the finished piece. This is Perfect Christmas Santa, Jim Shore by Mill Hill. And I started this during StitchCon 2018. This was a gift from Brittany at Blammy Cat Stitches at Ingleside Imaginarium. And so I worked on this for a couple days. And I finished it. And not only did I finish it, but within 30 minutes of putting in the last bead, I had it FFO'd. Who am I? It's magical, isn't it? So there he is, all finished and beaded. So cute. Lots of beads in this one. Over 700. I counted because all of the challenges are counting challenges these days. So yeah, over 700 beads in this little itty bitty Mill Hill kit. Can you believe it? But I love him. I love how he turned out. The only thing that I don't love is that 95% of the beads in this are size 15s. They're the petite seed beads. And with Mill Hill kits, you are supposed to go through those twice with a full cross, so that they sit horizontally or vertically, however you set them up. And I could not, with the exception of one, which I think are actually Magnificas, I could not get my needle through the bead again to cross it, to set it on a full cross. So all except the beads in his beard and the cat's chest and tail, all of those are set on a full cross, and everything else is on a half cross. Because I couldn't get my needle through. I might have been able to on the green ones, but the first one I tried, it didn't work. So, c'est la vie. So everything's on a half cross, and I don't think it looks bad. I think it looks pretty good, actually. So I'm a big fan. So first finish of the year. It doesn't tell you to create a hanger, but I did with the leftover crystal beads. And then I backed it with some red Christmas red felt. I still have to sign it on the back, and so I will do that. I'll either stitch my signature and attach it to the back, or I will write it on there because it's felt. So anyway, first finish of 2019, and first FFO. I'm so excited about that. I am hoping to continue that trend here this year in fully finishing as quickly as possible after finishing a project. I think that would be just so cool. So very excited, very proud of that. It's just a little thing, but that's okay. I'm going to talk more about that in plans because I haven't talked enough about a Mill Hill kit yet. But there are some implications with having finished that. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So I finished Perfect Christmas Santa yesterday morning, so Tuesday morning. And my as planned out rotation was Fantasy Sal. I was supposed to be working on that up through Tuesday for a 5-day rotation. But with the Lowry and the not quite white work and everything getting in the way, I hadn't worked on it yet. And so I wanted to be sure that I worked on it at least a little bit this rotation. Partly because of Magical Stitch's homework, not gonna lie. So I went ahead and pulled this out yesterday. And then I had a little bit more to get done, so I worked on it a little bit this morning. So this is the Fantasy Sal by Lakeside Needlecraft and Doreen Jones. Mine is being done on a 32 count Belfast linen in Heroic by Picture This Plus. And here's where I'm at. So I'll pan back so you guys can see the whole thing currently. And then I will zoom in on what I did. So first thing I did was the butterfly here in this ornament. And then I came up here and I finished out the border on page 2. So guess what, y'all? Page 2 is done. My first page goal is done on Fantasy Sal already. Guess what else? I didn't hate this. I only worked on it for probably 6 hours total between last night and this morning. So not a whole lot of progress, but so like small chunk, but I'm not too bothered by that at all. And I love it. I love the way that it looks, especially that butterfly. That butterfly is so delicate and just really pretty. So worked on this for a little bit and pleased with the progress. I've decided that I have 4 total sections left. So the next section that I'll do is page 3, and so that comes down about there of the border. So that will be it for page 3. Then I have page 4, and so page 4 kind of stretches down here. Then I have the July block, so that's section number 3 essentially. And then I have page 5. And what I've decided to do for page 5 kind of cuts off like part the way through these bottom ornaments. I'm just going to do all 4 of those ornaments for page 5. So that when I work on this in 2020, I will just have border left to do. So I have 4 sections left on this to reach my year-end goal for the project. I do really like the way it's looking. It's so busy, but that's not bothering me as much. So anyway, so there's that. And so you guys will probably be wondering, well, Jess, since your rotation got all out of whack, your carefully planned out rotation got all out of whack, how on earth are you going to work on that again? So let's switch over and talk plans. First things first, in plans, I am working on Away We Ride by Blackbird Designs. I didn't bring that to show you because I haven't worked on it any further since I previewed it last week, and so there's no sense in showing it again. So I have that for my next 5-day rotation. Then after that, so that will take me through Sunday. Starting on Monday is my next rotation within this moment. And again, I didn't bring that to show you because I showed it last week. And so as of next week, I will show you how far I get. So that is it for the immediate plans. As I mentioned, Perfect Christmas Santa sort of created some rotation and sort of plan implications. All right, so I brought my Whipco board so that you guys can see this, and hopefully I can explain this right for the 4th time. So this month for January, I pulled Fantasy Sal and Away We Ride, and I showed you guys that last week. Okay. Perfect Christmas Santa is also on my Whipco board, but you'll notice that it's not yet marked off. And the reason for that is that I am not marking any of these until they are called and the goal is met. So for instance, my goal in Away We Ride is 5 days. After these 5 days, if I get 5 days stitching into it, then I will be able to mark that complete for the year. But this one is, the goal is reached, but I haven't, it hasn't been called yet. So there's that aspect of it. All right. But that's not a big deal. So let's say this gets pulled in February, then I'll be able to mark it at that point because the goal has been met and it's been called. Okay. So here's the other thing. If it gets called in February, again, that has implications in my rotation. If it gets called in February, I've already finished it, so now what? I hadn't really thought of how I was going to answer that now what question until this situation popped up. If it gets called again, then I can go back to anything else. I can do anything else in those 5 days. So some of the ones that are going to be really great for this are going to be things like the Fantasy Sal. That only got really a day, although I've marked it as 2 days, and I haven't reached my goal on it. So I could give it that 5-day rotation again. So that's kind of how I've decided to sort of play this. Whenever Perfect Christmas Santa gets called, if it's in February, I might work on Fantasy Sal, or I might work on something else in here, or some of the ones that haven't yet been called, or like some of the ones that were not on this list. So in my list of whips for the year, but didn't make the Whip Go board. So I have alternates to sub in, because this will get called eventually. This will get picked. So had to have a contingency plan for that. So that's that. I hope that wasn't too confusing. If it is, you can ask clarifying questions, of course, as always. But it's just kind of how I am formatting things and figuring them out. So the last thing that I will have to do is, I think 2 weeks from now will be the 30th, so I can do this then. I have to pull my next 2 for my Whip Go Focus in February, but I won't do that until we get closer to February. I've wanted to, just because I'm curious, but I'll wait and we'll do that together, so to speak. Okay, so some stash acquisitions. I've received a few things in the mail as of late. And so the first thing that I got were my threads of the month. So I have, first up here, this is Color and Cotton, and this is the, I guess the limited edition pack, I think is what it is. It's the monthly colors. I'm not going to go through all of them because I'm sure some people already have. One thing I did want to mention is, Patty S., if you're watching this, my green one is labeled Hunter. So if that makes a difference in yours that seem to have been mislabeled, that one's called Hunter, and then the other one is Sea Spray or something like that. Anyway, so that is the original sort of threads of the month. And these are December's colors, by the way. Then I have the primitives or the muted tones, and I'm just obsessed with this pack. Every single one of these is beautiful. Find a way to do this. It's like a muted dark rainbow kind of palette. This mauvey bit, unbelievable. I'm in love with that. So definitely digging these, and hopefully I can find a place for them sooner rather than later. What is that called? I need to know. Swiss chocolate. So there's that. So those are threads of the month from Color and Cotton. Then I got my nest egg from 3 Owl Threads, and we are in the M's with one fantastic minor exception. And that is Garden Gate. Garden Gates was on back order, and then they got some, and then Trisha sent some with the gas third pack, and I was so excited to see Garden Gate. So these are all of them. Again, I'm not going to go through them all, but they're all gorgeous. because I think somebody already has gone through these. Love them. Every one of them. I can't find fault in any of them. Okay. Up next is a chart for a project that I've already started. Have Faith by Cottage Garden Sampling. See, I told you guys I was going to get the chart eventually, so now all is copacetic. And I did peek at the chart, and my guess was correct. So I think I only have to rip out one stitch because I guessed one too many, so it was almost correct. And so I'm so excited to finish Forever and Ever and then be able to sink my teeth into this. I love it. I think it's gorgeous. Next is something just out of this world. So I knew that this was coming, but I did not, I guess that I kind of forgot what was in it and was just totally overwhelmed when I opened it yesterday. So it actually took the long route to me between the holidays and then it being misdelivered to my neighbor, who then redelivered it to the postal service, who then redelivered it to us. Yes, that's what happened. My neighbor didn't just walk it over here. Instead, they took it back to the post office. Very silly, whatever. Anyway, doesn't matter. It arrived and it's beautiful and I'm so excited. So I hope that it's okay that I mention where this came from. But this was a gift from Shell Stitches. And I'm going to link her channel below so that you can check her out. She's wonderful and just the sweetest thing. So first things first is this gorgeous Mirabilia Designs sort of sketch card. And this is for Rose Arbor. So it's like a rough sketch of what Rose Arbor was going to look like. So that's the card, and then a wonderful note inside. So here's what spurred this conversation. Way back when, I was talking about my Witches of Salem from the Primitive Hair, and I was looking for the right color thread to do for the Tombstone Angel. I wasn't satisfied with anything that I had in my stash at the time, and so I was looking for like a gray mottled, maybe steel blue, but leaning gray. And Shell contacted me and she said, listen, I've dyed some stuff. I'd really like to send them to you. And I was like, that would be wonderful. So that's sort of what started this. And so these are her hand dyed. These are cottons and they are stunning. I think they're a little too blue for my intention with the Tombstone Angel. I'm going to peek at it, but I am concerned they're a little too blue. So I'll give it a try when I get back to that. Hopefully at some point this year, if I can get Spooky Countdown done. So there is those. But she didn't stop there. She's in the UK, so she had to kind of fill it to make it worth it, right? So here are a couple of other ones that she's done. A hot pink and a tangerine orange. Where's my foam core for showing things? There we go. That's much better. Much more accurate. This hot pink. Ugh, it's stunning. I absolutely love that. And then a couple of thread picker silks. This one is called Into the Mystic. And that's pretty close. Blues and purples and some dark blacks. Ugh, I love it. So there's that one. And then one that is unnamed, but I think it's a thread pickers because it's woven in the same style. It's this honey golden yellow color. So pretty. So there is that. Okay. But then there's more, right? So she said that these are things that she thinks I would be interested in, but that she wouldn't necessarily stitch herself, that she has acquired, and so she passed them on. So the first is Easter Fairy by Mirabilia. And this is from the Fairy Holiday Collection. This is just the chart. It's not the kit or anything. And so I will have to kit it myself, which is perfectly fine. And this is done all in Crescent Colors, Classic Colorworks, whatever you want to call it. So pretty. Super cute. And then sort of the pièce de résistance. How do you say that in plural? 2 stunning Mirabilias. So first up we have Damask Roses. And this is Mirabilia design number 1. Now, for those who have been with me for a while, you will know that at one point I had 3 of these because ABC Stitch Therapy goofed, and so I ended up with 3 copies. But I ended up giving those away in my my giveaway in 2016. I can't even remember what that was for, but nonetheless. So I had 3 copies of it, but then I gave them all away. And then I was going to try to find my own, and I could never really find it for a price that I was willing to pay for it. And then Shell said that she wanted to send this one to me, and I was like, so, absolutely love her. She's gorgeous. To all of my Buckeye friends, look at that color. Look at that color dress she's wearing. And then Madonna of the Garden. And I don't even know what to say. I absolutely love this. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, looks like a Renaissance painting. So, love that. She's pretty big, I think. 160 by 267, so about 100 stitches shorter than Lady of the Fleck. Yeah, but I'm just, Shell, I am overwhelmed. I told you this, but thank you so much. Words and thank you. I'm spoiled rotten, and I just hope that I can repay back some of the kindness that I have received over the years. Because I've been spoiled by you guys. So, thank you. So we are going to talk about books. So I have finished 2 books since we last spoke, if you can believe it. And then I'm currently reading 2 more that I haven't talked to you guys about. So let's start with the ones that I finished. They're both on my Kindle, so no sense in showing that to you. Last time I talked to you guys about Halfway to the Grave by Janine Frost, and I ended up finishing that night. Wednesday night, I was reading, just trying to fight off a headache, and so, I read that and finished it. I ate the end of that book. It was a lot of fun, like I said. Just a fun read, paranormal romance, vampires, ended on a stupid cliffhanger, which drives me a little batty. But it was just a lot of fun. I love how snarky the characters are. I love the attitudes. I love the depth of the characters. Even in something as lighthearted as paranormal romance, like, these characters have some backstory, and I'm excited to read further into the series to sort of learn more about them. And one thing that I did want to mention about this is that while it was a fun read, there are some rather serious adult topics. Some violence and some sexual abuse and some just sort of deviant behavior are all sort of touched on in this book. I would just warn anybody who is looking at reading this thinking it's going to be like a clean paranormal romance. I don't know what that is, and this is certainly not it. It's not a clean paranormal romance at all. And there are some triggers, so just go into that knowing that. Okay. The next book that I read, I started and finished within 3 days. I absolutely loved this story. But get ready for some whiplash, because the next book that I read was a young adult contemporary fiction. So very, very different from the PNR. So the book that I'm talking about is American Street by E.B. Zaboy. This is an own voices novel, and what that means is not only racially is the author the same as her main character, but her main character has gone through a similar life story as the author. And this has become a really, really big thing in young adult literature. A lot of people are pushing for more own voices. So essentially, we don't want able-bodied people to be writing from the perspective of a main character who has a disability of any kind, because it's not authentic. It's very difficult to research that, whereas you could instead invest in authors who are representatives of those disabilities, who are better able to write from that perspective. And this applies across all sorts of things, LGBT, various races, historical global events such as refugees and those involved in genocide, etc., etc. So this is an own voices novel. Okay, so American Street is about a girl named Fabiola. Fabiola is 16 to 17 years old. I'm not really sure where exactly she falls in that line. Fabiola was born in the United States, but then shortly after her birth, she and her mom moved to Haiti. They moved home to Haiti. So her family is from Haiti, but then they came to America, and her mom probably came to America. The connection is drawn that she probably came to America to have her daughter in the States so that she would be an American citizen and so that at any point she could come back. Okay, so fast forward 16 years. Fabiola and her mom, at the outset of this book, are coming back to the States. They're coming back to the United States, and they are on visas, and they have all of their paperwork in order, and everything is good to go. Fabiola is an American citizen, so by birth, and so no problems there. Mom gets detained. They get to New York, and just before they get on the plane to fly to Detroit, Mom is detained, and she is taken to a detention center in New Jersey. And Fabiola is sent on the plane by herself to Detroit to then get in connection with her aunt and her 3 cousins, and to continue her life. So we have a 16-year-old, I'm just going to call her 16, a 16-year-old who her whole life has been her mom, and suddenly she is being catapulted into this very different culture, alone, completely alone. So her aunt and her 3 cousins live in Detroit. And so they have been sort of conversing with the aunt and the cousins over the years, getting ready for this move and for this transition. And so she has some sort of a relationship, but her aunt and her cousins have been in the States for a very long time. And so they have sort of become acclimated to American culture, whereas Fabiola still carries an accent, and she's still, she carries some of the old ways and the religion and customs of Haiti. And her new family essentially doesn't. They're American. They've been Americanized. It's fabulous, this story. It is heartbreaking, but it is also like, it's like a statement of empowerment in women. Women are the focal point, and they are the strength in this novel, and it is so cool, just to see that, just to have strong women depicted across the board. All of the women in this are strong women. It's great. it has some very real moments. There are some things that happen in the book where you're like, please don't let this happen. Let this be a happy ending. But then Evie Savoy is like, listen, that's not real life. And this is how it happened. And so it's a little heartbreaking in that. One of the big themes throughout the book is family and home, and how home is not necessarily a place. Home is a people. Home is a sense of self rather. It's so good. It's so strong. And I will endeavor to read anything that Evie Savoy writes from now until foreverdom, because I dug this. I was so into this. I cannot personally relate to a single minute of Fabiola's story. I am not American-born, Haitian-raised. I am a white girl. While I still get that sort of warm, fuzzy feeling about Detroit, like home, Detroit was never home. I lived on the outskirts of Detroit. I lived in suburbia. I know I cannot relate to a single aspect of Fabiola's life, and yet I found her so relatable. Immediately I was cheering for her. Immediately I wanted everything to work out for her. And that is like a testament of strong writing. To be able to relate to a character that you have nothing in common with. 30-year-old white woman, 16-year-old Haitian girl. Nope. So, anyway, really strong. Highly recommend. Evie Savoy last year released a book called Pride, which is a Pride and Prejudice retelling in Bushwick, New York. Because when Evie Savoy first moved to the States, they moved to Bushwick, New York. So this is Pride and Prejudice, but for the 21st century in New York. I'm so excited about it. I already bought it. And so hopefully I can get to that this week or next week. Or, I'm sorry, this month or next month. We'll see. See how it goes. Okay, enough about that. Read it if that's your jam. Okay, next are the two books that I'm currently reading. I'm going to talk very briefly about these. The first is on audio, and it is called Jem and Dixie by Sarah Zarr. This is again young adult contemporary. I'm reading it for a challenge on Goodreads. I needed another Z book. And so Sarah Zarr, I read one of Sarah Zarr's books last fall and really enjoyed it. And so I was looking forward to picking this up. So here's something interesting. Jem and Dixie thus far is about two girls, sisters, and they live in Seattle with their mom. Mom is a single mom. Mom doesn't do very well taking care of these girls. And so Jem, who is our main character, she sort of has to step up and take over this parent role to take care of her younger sister. And that includes food, and Jem had to get a job over the summer so that she could feed the people living in their apartment. So she's had to take on this very parent role while being a junior in high school. And then enter her there and back dad. And that's about as far as I've gotten. Looking forward to seeing where this story goes. So here's the thing. Poor white girl, I can relate to that. But I find them so much less relatable than Fabiola, which is just wild to me. I'm not liking Jem and Dixie near as much as How to Save a Life, which is the other one by Sarah Zarr that I read last fall. I'm not liking Jem and Dixie as much. I just don't... I'm finding some plot issues, and so So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. So there's that. So I'm reading that currently. And that's a really short audiobook. It's less than 6 hours. So we'll see how that goes. I should finish that before next week. So the other book that I'm reading currently, I am not going to have finished before next week. It's highly unlikely. And that is this rather big book called The Quick by Lauren Owen. This is adult historical fantasy thus far. So it's Victorian vampires. It's fabulous. It's so much fun so far. So essentially what this is about is a brother and sister. The brother, they are orphaned essentially. Mom died early on. Dad died when they were children. And so they were essentially raised by an aunt living on their property. Anyway, so James grows up and he goes to school. He goes to school at Oxford, and he finishes his studies there, and he moves to London to sort of pursue poetry. He wants to be a writer. And then while he's there, he moves in with, on the back, he's described as a charming aristocrat. And so they live together and are going about life. We haven't entered the realm of vampires yet, but they're coming. And I couldn't be more excited. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far. It's a bit of a slow burn, because like I said, we're not yet to the vampires. But we're sort of getting used to who these characters are before everything changes. And so really enjoying this. I'm only about 70 pages into this over 500 page book. So it's going to be a little while before I finish it up. One thing I did want to say is that because I am reading this, the epic fantasy that I sort of hinted at last time, I've put that down for now. I really think I only have time for like one chunky book a month, and so this is my chunky book this month. So hopefully I'll get back to that other one sooner rather than later. And I'm looking forward to reading some more of this maybe tonight. I haven't read any more of Harry Potter. I need to get back to that. I need to have that finished for certain before the end of the month. So that is my reading stuff. And I think that takes us to the end here. I think we are just about finished. As I said, no knitting to talk about today. Hopefully next week I have something that I need to block. And so hopefully I can get that blocked and finished before next week so I can show you something. So we'll see what happens. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your continued support of me and my channel. Thank you for all of your wonderful comments, for your likes and subscribing and all of that. I just so appreciate you and this whole community. Bar none, it's the best. All right, everybody take care. Happy stitching, and as always, be kind.